Now, Gary, UFC boss Dana White was in Sydney over the weekend for UFC 312, and naturally he had a chat with the New South Wales Premier, Chris Minns. The chat occurred on the Straight Talk podcast with Mark Boris, but that was apparently too much for Sydney Morning Herald editor Bevan Shields, who published this frankly embarrassing editorial. He wrote, "Watching Minns chat with White this week on the Straight Talk with Mark Boris podcast actually made me feel sick. I like Minns a lot, and I think he is a very decent person, but his association with this sport and its web of grubby characters is a serious mistake." Oh, dear me. Bevan Shields also objected to Premier Minns, saying the fighters, the UFC fighters, were role models who promote physical fitness. He wrote here, "Role models? Spare me. How much of a role model is US fighter Sean Strickland, who is in Sydney to compete in this weekend's UFC Fest? Only this week, Strickland attacked Sydney's network of red light, speed, phone and seatbelt cameras." Oh gosh, God no. Asked about the article at a press conference, Dana White unleashed.
Listen, for a place that is so tough and the people, everything on land and the water can kill you. You have the biggest I've ever seen in the media in my life. I saw a story where a guy was like, "I saw Dana do a podcast with the Premier and it physically made me sick." Holy you guys have to have the biggest of all time in the media here.
All right, he did not hold back. What's your take, Gary? Do we have the worst media in the world, or is Dana exaggerating a tad there?
Look, he spends a lot of time with Donald Trump, so he'll call it. He'll call the spade a, bleeding shovel. All right. So, and look, he's entitled to his view. Normally, when people visit another country, they're a little more polite than Dana White. But you know what? It's okay, because I think it's a challenge to every Australian to work out what sort of media they want to consume. And Rita, there's a range of media out there. There are the podcasts. There's Sky News. There's, I do a drive program on 4BC, which is part of the Nine organisation, which is part of the Sydney Morning Herald's, in the stable as well. So, there's a, if you stay woke, you're going to go broke. I think a lot of everyday Australians have worked out what media they want to consume, and I've noticed the Sydney Morning Herald's sort of losing readers these days, Rita.
Well, they seem determined to pretty much alienate everybody, but a very, very tiny band of rusted-on, hard-left ideologues, often affluent, often completely out of touch, untouched by high energy costs, preoccupied by the Tills agenda.
No, exactly,
that seems
exactly
to be the market that they're going for, and good luck to them, and that means more eyeballs for us. Gary Hardgrave, thank you for your time tonight.
Cheers.